Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brendan.
I'm Corey, and this is Our View from the Bench.
Welcome back, Benchwarmers. Seeing that basketball season is already over, today is round one of the NFL Draft.
We did a round one mock draft earlier this week, and now we want to see how well, or perhaps how poorly, we did. I'm Corey, Rams GM phone holder.
And I'm Brendan, the tired laymaker for all the Hawaiian players, and this is Our View from the Bench. If you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss any one of our new episodes.
And if you could please do us the favor, if you like what you see in here, please smash that like button.
Smash it for us. It's free for both of us. It only takes a second of your time, and it helps out a lot more than you probably think.
Facts.
All right, man.
We made it.
Round one was here. It was a nice distraction. Seems that again, like I mentioned earlier, that the NBA season is now over.
Yes.
At least in my
Yeah,
my mind, it's April 25th and it's over. And so yeah, round one happened today. Fantastic show. Honestly, quick snippet before you kind of jump in here. How dope was the intro with Eminem, man, and all of the like Lions legends?
It's weird. It's almost like the NFL this first round playoff game that they hosted this year in Detroit with Eminem and everything was like the practice round for them to really get it perfect for the draft intro.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
Couldn't agree more with you, man. I mean, I'm a huge Eminem fan, so anything he does, I'm pretty much down.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, but even it made Roger Goodell look cool for a moment, and I loved how they were talking about how M dished on the line of, you're still gonna get booed, right?
Oh yeah, duh. It's always any commissioner is going to get booed regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, the WNBA commissioner did not get booed when she was out there presenting this past draft. So hey, props to the ladies for being ladylike.
Well, okay, that's one step in the right direction. Hopefully, the rest of the leagues can follow suit, but I don't think it's going to happen.
At least not the NFL. I'm completely fine with booing Roger Goodell. It's fine. Honestly, you know who else deserves booing is the Major League Baseball commissioner.
I was just going to say Rob Manfred. There's a video. I don't know if it's a new one or an old one that came back up, but a fan sees him like, "Hey, Rob, you want to make the game more exciting for the young fans? Get rid of the blackouts, you dumbass."
Let people watch the fucking game.
So stupid.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, back to the NFL football. So fantastic show again. But we want to kind of just do a quick recap. We don't want to get too detailed. We're not going to go over every single pick and see how it worked. We had a long show of our predictions. If you didn't see that, go check that out. Basically, kind of want to see a couple things of how we did, any crazy surprises, good picks, bad picks, and just kind of quickly wrap it up. So we'll start with the obvious. I'm surprised, to be honest with you. I was super torn. I'm surprised Caleb Williams was drafted first.
Oh,
I knew that it was completely up in the air and not a lot of certainty around it. So it was crazy to see that. But other than that, the draft was pretty boring. No, that was actually the only part that was boring, I guess, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we knew the first three picks were going to be quarterbacks. We just weren't.
We maybe didn't know the order.
Yeah, I was going to say the first one we knew for sure. It was the second and third, and even the fourth one, who was going to go where. But we knew quarterbacks were going to be heavy in this first round. I don't know if we expected all 6 of them to go in the first round that we talked about.
Yeah,
but
all the 6 top ones.
Yeah, and here we are. Some weird decisions made by some teams, some great ones by some others.
Yeah. I thought it was weird too. They set a record today in the first round. It was actually in any round, it was the most offensive players taken in a row. It was the first 14 picks of the draft were all offensive players. The first one that came off the board was the edge rusher Laiatu Latu, who went 15th to the Colts. Good luck with that guy, buddy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the first defensive player. So that set a record. And yeah, it's just the quarterbacks. All 6 were taken within the first 12 picks. The Broncos took Bo Nix at 12. That was the last of the top 6 taken. So half of the picks through 12 were quarterbacks. So crazy.
Dude, I mean, I know the game is obviously offensive centric, especially with all the rules written for them. But yeah, 6 quarterbacks and 12. Yikes.
I think the other part was it was twofold. One, there's a lot of QB needy teams, obviously. But 2, there's a lot of offensive talent this year. It's not like they were settling because they needed offense. Like, people are talking about this quarterback class is as deep. If they all pan out now, obviously there's been plenty that said that. But even if they plan out to just be starters, like a Marcus Mariota level, if that's the worst that someone is, that's pretty freaking good, for 6 quarterbacks. And then the names like Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., they're talking about generational talents. Joe Alt, just tons and tons of talent on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's pretty much what was driving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, The league is built on offense. That's how you win games. Even though if you're the Chiefs, you have a great defense. But at the end of the day, they did need Pat Mahomes in the offense to score at the end to win the game.
Yep.
So that is what most teams are focusing on. And as you said, quarterback needy, because if you can get the young quarterback on the cost-controlled contract, you can build the rest of the team around them when they're young and hopefully get that opportunity to win when they're on that shorter contract or at least less money before you really have to pay them out.
Yeah, because after that, they basically take damn near half your payroll, and you have to build the rest of your team out with just that. So it's pretty crazy. All right, well, let's go through a couple of questions that we kind of have here. Again, I kind of rattled them off at the beginning here, but instead of going through all the picks, we'll just kind of see. We'll answer a couple questions to kind of give a general idea of how it went. So the first one is, how did we do?
I mean, terrible.
I wouldn't say terrible. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We have to look at it like this way. Marvin Harrison was the first wide receiver off the board. We guessed that. Caleb Williams obviously went 1. We knew Drake May and Jayden Daniels, and we all thought Jayden Daniels. We said it in the thing. Jayden Daniels is the better quarterback. I just didn't know if they got rid of Sam Howell for that North Carolina connection. I just thought that was odd to get rid of somebody who honestly wasn't terrible. I'm not saying he's the guy, but he wasn't terrible. He knows the offense already. Why get rid of him? So we got that right. We knew JJ McCarthy was the next quarterback off the board, so we got that right. We knew Malik Neighbors was going to be the second one. Joe Alt was going to be the first one. Laiatu Latu was going to be the first defensive player off the board. We got that right. We didn't see him going far.
Not that
far. The one thing that we didn't get was Penix going before Nix, but we didn't even have Penix going in the first round. So
same thing. I don't think we really even. I mean, we discussed Penix because of the fact that everybody's so quarterback needy, but I just figured as with his injury history that would kind of put some teams off, and it just didn't make sense for. Once we got past 5 and 6 and you looked at the quarterback situations for other teams, that if there's options to get somebody that's, McCarthy and then you go to Bo Nix, it's like, okay, those guys make a little more sense than Penix, but Atlanta made an interesting decision.
Yes. Yeah. We'll probably talk about that in a moment. Let's leave that there for a second. We'll continue with the how did we do? I think we did overall. I'd probably give us like a C+. Yeah. Again, we're not like in it, right? We don't see all the film. We don't know the conversation these teams are having. And sometimes some of the things I think we saw was teams were playing a little bit more scared than we thought. A lot of people were talking about trading for that Cardinal spot. Which team is going to trade for the quarterback in the Cardinal spot? And that didn't even happen. Nobody really even, I don't think, traded up for a quarterback except Minnesota.
Yeah, so and there was even
and they didn't even really go that high. I think we went 2 spots or something like that.
They didn't move very high. I think they were just trying to get in front of a couple teams to make sure they got what they wanted. But also there was rumors this morning that the Colts might try to trade up and get Marvin Harrison Jr., but obviously that didn't come to fruition. So I don't know. I feel like the last 12 hours or so less than that to a draft is just a bunch of people throwing shit on the wall to see what people will like. Oh, that sounds interesting. Or maybe we'll be open to that. Because, you and I yesterday, we were hanging out on here kind of prepping for this. We watched that video of the Cardinals GM from last year doing the trade call to like move back and then move back up, and it's just so intense. And I feel just like that the day of, there's just so many things being discussed that everyone's just like, again, throwing shit on the wall and let's see what sticks, and maybe something will make sense for us.
Yeah, I agree. We got that Adunze was going to be there. I'm surprised that Nix went to Denver until a lot of people on the show were talking about Drew Brees comps. And I was like, oh, well, that makes perfect fucking sense why he went to Denver. And Denver didn't even have to move for him.
No,
they kind of fell in his lap. So that kind of worked out for him.
That does make a lot of sense with Sean Payton there. And also, I guess there was talk of even Sean Payton when Patrick Mahomes was drafted by Kansas City back in the day that he was going to draft. He had Mahomes on his card ready to turn it in, but then Kansas City at the last second traded up literally right in front of them and took Mahomes. So then,
so this one they got their quarterback this year.
Finally. And I mean, if you're Sean Payton and if they're comping him to Drew Brees, if he can do 75 to 80% of what Brees did with Sean Payton, then the Broncos are
that's pretty damn freaking good.
Much quicker than we all anticipated.
Agree. Other than that, I mean, pretty much everybody that we saw kind of went in the first round. There was a couple names that we didn't get. I saw that the Packers got Jordan Morgan from Arizona, and there was a Packers fan in the thing was irritated. But I think Jordan Morgan, according to a lot of the stuff that we read, was a first-round talent. I don't think it was too much of a stretch, and some of the better tackles and guards had already come off the board. But I think overall, I think we did pretty good. Like I said, maybe C+, maybe B- if we're trying to be nice to ourselves.
As I always like to say, C's get you degrees, so I'll take the C+.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the next question after we've talked about how we did. The next question is honestly, and we kind of touched on some of them already, but let's dive into most of them. Biggest surprises. What were the biggest surprises? Let's go one for one. You go one, I'll go one. We'll see until we kind of stop. You go first.
Okay. I think the biggest one is Michael Penix to Atlanta. Like, you give Kirk Cousins $180 million to come in there. Now, I know he's coming off a torn ACL and he's older, so I get wanting to have another quarterback there to ultimately take over in the future. But to use the 8th pick overall and take Penix, it just doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. That's something you would do maybe late first, early second, even, like try to just get somebody to learn from Cousins while he's there in the situation they have going forward. We talked about before we got in here. There's that video of Arthur Blank in the war room with the GM, and the GM's kind of like explaining it. I mean, there's no audio, but you can just tell by the body language and the way he's talking, like, okay, this is why I'm thinking, and this is why I did it, blah blah. And Arthur Blank's kind of like, okay, but
because it's a questionable move.
Absolutely.
Even Arthur Blank knows that. He's not there to know football. He's there to be a billionaire and run and own the team.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's a very, very. I mean, it could pan out, and we could be wrong, but
it's not gonna. Yeah. It's. I'm not saying it's not gonna pan out that Michael Penix won't be good. I'm saying it's not gonna pan out because it's a wasted pick.
Yeah.
Not because Michael Penix is a waste of a pick. This is worse, in my opinion, than Jordan Love getting picked at 24 and Aaron Rodgers getting mad at that, or 23, whatever he got picked at.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers getting mad. This is 8. You know how much talent you can get at 8? Look at the names that came off the board after 8.
Yeah.
Roma Dunze, that'd be nice to freaking have to maybe for Kirk Cousins to throw to.
Yep.
Maybe give him Fashanu out of Penn State, or Bowers if he has a nice tight. I know he got Pitts there, so maybe not. Or Fuaga out of Oregon. Maybe get someone to block for him. Maybe get that defense up so you actually can put pressure on the quarterback and not lose all your games. I get the offense was pretty bad. That's what Kirk's there to help with, but. Like, there were so many other positions of need. This is, in my opinion, it's worse than the Jordan Love thing.
Yeah, and also,
I don't know.
If you think about it too, like Kirk Cousins coming off a torn ACL, he's older, so the injury question is there. Penix has a bunch of injury histories, and he's played for so long in pros that he's already like 25, I think. So if he's going to sit behind Cousins for a couple of years, by the time he could take over, he could be pushing 30, and then at that point, you're right. It's basically a wasted pick.
It's just, yeah, especially like, why would you give the guy $180 million, almost all of it guaranteed, if you're not in a win now mentality?
Yeah.
And by now, I don't literally mean this year, but I mean in that 4 years of his contract. Yeah,
you're hoping
that's probably the goal.
Yeah, if you're giving a 4-year deal like that to Cousins and you're in win now mode, you're thinking year 2 and 3 are going to be the best years, and you're going to have
the best. Yes.
I don't know.
So get him somebody. There's so much, like we talked about when we talked about the offensive stuff. There's so much talent. This is a deep draft, and again, you could have got one of the best defensive players because none were taken when you got it. It's super, super confusing. I really don't get it. I feel they've already talked that Kirk Cousins is confused. He's like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Wait, that's what happened? Didn't you just sign me to a bunch of money? Now, I don't think he's afraid of the competition. That's not the point. But I think it's more of the Aaron Rodgers thing. Like, what the fuck? We could have given me a receiver to go across Devontae, maybe somebody else to improve the DB room, or I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Again,
it was bad.
I mean, this is why we don't have jobs in the NFL front offices, I guess, because we don't know.
Yeah, well, that guy might not either. So we'll see. All
right. So what's the first one?
My first biggest surprise was Buffalo constantly trading back instead of getting a wide receiver that they just lost 2 of.
Yeah, that's a good.
And two of their best. It's their number 1 and their number 2. And Stephon Diggs obviously getting traded to the Texans for a used stick of gum, and I believe it was a comb. I think it was. Maybe it was a toothbrush. I'm not sure. But either way, it wasn't anything. And then Gabe Davis just walking in free agency to Jacksonville.
Yep.
It makes no sense why they keep trading back. And then please, the whole Buffalo trading to Kansas City story on top of that is just confusing.
Dude, that's the one thing that caught me. I'm like, really? You're going to trade and give Kansas City another, like the last time they did a trade with them, the pick that became Pat Mahomes and has killed you. Now you just gave them an opportunity to draft the fastest wide receiver. And again, we talked about this before. Just because you're fast and you can run doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great in the NFL. But that was Tyreek Hill's whole thing, was be able to take the top off. And if this guy is even 60 to 70% of Tyreek Hill in that system. And again, it's with Andy Reid. It seems like everything they do and everything they build on the offensive side of the ball tends to work itself out. This could really come back to hurt Buffalo, maybe in a playoff game again.
Dang, that's a lot. That's rough. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Xavier Worthy, from my understanding, was a great player at Texas, and they went really far. They went to the college football playoffs this year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, again, speedster. The last one who did it was John Ross. Sure, maybe not necessarily the best example, but he went to a Tennessee team that didn't have Joe Burrow yet. So I don't know. You can't really take it too much with it because he.
You mean Cincinnati, by the way, not Tennessee.
Yeah.
I never had John Ross on my team.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cincinnati. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
all
sorry. I saw that right here. That's where I was trying to look up some more stats on him because I was trying to see. I'm pretty sure he's gotten like a handful of awards and stuff. It sucks because his entire ESPN page is already to the NFL.
Yeah, of course.
Instead of all of his college stuff, so I couldn't see it. But
it's so quick on it.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, that was my biggest surprise. They just kept going. They just kept trading backwards and letting decent wide receivers off the board.
Yep. I don't know.
You got another one?
Actually, the only other one I thought of, and it's not a huge like, oh my god, what are they thinking? But if you're the Raiders, why Brock Bowers? I mean, I know maybe it's one of those that's the best talent available at the spot, but although they are going to run the ball with Pierce a lot, maybe so they're going to do more action, and then Bowers becomes the security blanket. So maybe it's not as big a surprise now thinking about it, but in the moment, I was like, oh, I didn't expect him to go there.
Well, who did you? So I agree in essence, but I think it's a great pick. They traded away Darren Waller, who was a great asset for Carr. I get Carr's not there anymore, but tight end, right? We've talked about it. Best quarterback, rookie quarterback, young quarterback's best friend, right? The outlet and stuff like that. And we talked about it in the draft. A generational player. He is the one for sure player. He's the guy, right? Apparently, I don't know. I'm hoping that he does pan out for himself. The other thing I would say is like, well, who else?
Yeah, like I said,
Spencer Rattler. Is that what you're taking? Spencer Rattler over or Brock Bowers?
No,
you know, that was the next best quarterback.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about it had to be a quarterback. I just like I said, like I'm just in the moment, it was like, oh, Brock Bowers. Okay, it wasn't like surprise, like terrible. It just kind of caught me off guard, I guess. More.
I'm surprised he fell to them. That's what I'm surprised.
That's true. I did. I mean, we talked about. We thought the Jets were going to try to grab him to give Aaron Rodgers.
I think they were smart though.
Yeah, no.
Why they traded? What did Why did the Vikings trade up?
I mean,
they were right there. They weren't going to draft a quarterback. Do you think the Jets were going to?
Unless they thought Denver was going to take McCarthy because they were behind Denver in the draft too. So.
No, they were 11.
Oh, well then that makes no sense to go up one spot then because
that's what I'm saying. Unless they were 11 and the Jets were 10 and they're like, "Hey, can we trade with you because we're going to get a quarterback?" They're like, sure. We're going to draft offensive tackle. So look, I don't care."
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know what they were thinking then.
Unless they thought that Denver was going to try to jump up and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to trade with the Jets, and maybe they tried to give him a better offer. You know, we don't know what's going on in the back room, but I just thought that was weird. They're like, the Vikings have traded up with the. I was like, they were going to pick in 2 picks. They want to pick now. Like,
yeah, that's the point. I don't know. That is very strange to go only one spot, knowing it. Well, I mean, the only thing they could think of is since the Jets traded Zach Wilson away and Aaron Rodgers obviously is 40 and maybe has 1 or 2 years left, maybe they were going to do the Jordan Love situation and take McCarthy to kind of sit behind Rodgers in the meantime. But I don't know. I mean, hey, if you're the Jets, if you can get an extra pick out of it by letting them move up one spot in front of you and you know you're not going to take who they want, why not do it?
Mm-hmm. Looking at the picks, though, overall, I mean, I really like a lot of the fits, to be honest with you. I think they fit a lot of needs. I think the teams did pretty well. We can move on to the next one. I don't really have any other surprises. It was really mostly those 2 that I can think of. Oh, you know what? A little bit surprised, and I'm a little bit cautious. This is more personal. With the Darius Robinson pick, the Cardinals' 27th pick out of Missouri. In my opinion, again, they know a lot more than I do. But according to a lot of the grading, there was still a decent amount of defensive linemen on the board that were at least bigger names, maybe went to bigger schools that I thought might have been better picks. Also, I think a good corner is very helpful in playing the NFC West. So I would have liked that. But to be honest with you, if he pans out, great. I did really like his interview. He seems really hard, really ready to work. And I think that's like really important is that he's got a drive to play.
Yeah.
So I like that. But I'm just curious because the Cardinals aren't lucky or are good at hitting on those random defensive guys. Like, oh, I never heard of that guy. Yeah, don't worry.
Also,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm good at
also, if I remember correctly, your coach is a defensive coordinator formerly, right? So maybe it has to do more with the scheme that they play and the scheme that
True.
he played in.
I've heard he's extremely versatile.
Okay, so then maybe that's what it is. It's got to be more of the scheme and the way they're going to set up their defense, and maybe that's something similar he played in college at Missouri, so that's more of an easier transition.
Yeah, that could be it. And Mizzou's a good school. I mean, what are they? Are they in the SEC? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so they play. So I wasn't too upset. It's not like he went to freaking but I was just like, I don't know who that is, but you know what? All right, we'll see. Like I'm stoked for it. I'm super stoked for Marvin Harrison though. Oof.
Well, I mean, I would be too if I were you.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next question. Best pick or picks? We might have a couple. Best pick or picks in your opinion?
I mean, I think it's the best pick is just the easiest one to make, and it's the slam dunk. It's Caleb Williams. Like they've given him a bunch of weapons on the offensive side of the ball to work with. They have a decent line to protect him. So he's kind of, at least in the last 15, 20 years of my life of watching football, I can think of, he's probably one of the best suited as far as like, all right, kid, here's the keys, and you have all the opportunity, and you should have no complaints and issues because we didn't really leave you hanging like they did with Justin Fields with no wide receivers and too much expectation. Like, there's a lot of expectations on Caleb, I understand. But again, they've given him plenty of weapons to work with, so they might expect a lot more. And they did get 7 wins last year even with Justin Fields, so if they think Caleb is much better than him, maybe the Bears make
watch out. Let me add to that. It's not going to be mine, but I'll add to it. Giving them Rome Odunze helps as well, right? At the 9th pick. So I think the Bears themselves had a really good draft, obviously getting a generational talent. Apparently a generational talent in Caleb Williams. And from what I've seen, a really, really good wide receiver in Rome Odunze. They had a good draft. So yeah, I agree with that one.
Absolutely.
I think my best pick, to be honest with you, was I'm kind of torn. I'm going to give you a couple that I think were good. One was the Eagles, of course, fucking Howie Roseman doing his thing. Because it was such an offensive heavy draft through the first 14 picks, there was plenty of defensive talent left on the board. What is the one area of need that the Eagles have
all year for the Eagles?
All year.
They're secondary. On the secondary. It's terrible. Yep. They went and traded for Byard. It didn't work out. They need help on the back end. They brought Gardner Johnson back. So again, need help on the back end.
Yep. So Gardner Johnson, great corner. He's going to be helping teach. Where'd it go? Oh my gosh, I freaking lost it.
Quinion Mitchell is his name. In fact,
Quinion Mitchell. It's like right in the middle of the screen. Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo. Exactly what to do. Saw some tape. Everybody's raving about this guy, so I thought that was a great pick. And honestly, the one after that, which is the Jags, they got, in my opinion, the second or third best receiver. I think he might be a little bit better than Odunze because he had the most touchdowns last year, and he played with Malik Neighbors. So Brian Thompson Jr., because the Jags traded backwards to actually get that pick. That wasn't their pick. They were picking over like 18 or 19, 20, something like that. They were up there. So they traded backwards and still got a top talent wide receiver, somebody to really take the top off. And now they got this dude and Gabe Davis. Dude, freaking Trevor Lawrence's arm's going to be sore trying to get it freaking 60 yards down the field. So I thought those were two really good
Trevor Lawrence better be ready and better improve because this is, I don't know if it's the 4th year. It must be the 4th year of his deal. So this is that kind of make or break. Like if you have another good year,
zero excuses.
We'll pick up the 5th option and discuss an extension. But if you don't, this could be the end of your run in Jacksonville. So yeah.
I mean, Gardner Minshew has better numbers than him statistically, like of his time with the Jags. And they're like, did the Jags mess up and just kept him? And so
also, I think we talked about this before when we talked going into the playoffs or at the end of the regular season. Like Trevor Lawrence's first year, I'm going to throw out because that was Urban Meyer year with the coaching.
Yeah,
there's
a huge scandal and shit.
So I'll take that first year just off the books, and we look at the last 3 or last 2. They made the playoffs 2 years ago.
They've been okay.
They beat the Chargers, who always charge and lose games when big leads. It still was a 27-point deficit. They came back in a playoff game, and he did help that as a big part of it. So I think it's overall. As much as I hate to say it, because I hate the Jags as a Titans fan, I think they're going to be better.
To be honest with you, I'm looking at it now, and I think the very next pick as well, it was a really good pick. The Detroit Lions trading up with the Cowboys. Cowboys traded that was from 29 to 24, traded up 6 picks basically to get Terrion Arnold, which was arguably the second or third best corner out of Alabama. So to kind of shore up the Gardner Johnson leaving, I thought that was really a smart pick too. So those 3, 22, 23, and 24 with the with the Eagles, Jags, and Lions, I thought were good picks.
Yep, I could agree more.
Let's wrap this up on a low note. What were your worst pick or picks of this draft?
Worst picks, man. I don't know. I feel like you said, once you get past the first, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 picks, at that point, me and you, at least for myself, I will say, I don't really know all these guys. I don't pay close attention to the college game that much and know like every single person's thing. But I don't even know if it's the worst pick. I think it's maybe just the Bills being the worst and just trading back, trading out of the 32nd, even though they traded to that. Now they're the first pick of the second round tomorrow. I just don't know what Buffalo's doing. So I feel like for them as a whole, it was just a bad draft overall. And it's not necessarily they made a bad pick. They just didn't make good decisions. And I don't know what they're doing or where they're going.
Yeah. Let me add to that. From their trade, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, I don't know that guy, and Xavier Legette. That dude, though, is good. I don't know why I've seen him. I don't know if he was not at South Carolina before or why I would be watching a South Carolina game, but I've seen that guy play. I didn't think of it at first, but that guy's a great receiver. So they let 3 receivers off the board. Now, again, maybe they want Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, or maybe they want somebody else that they think. Again, they have the next pick, so it's not like
it's not like when it's a need that you have.
No, I'm with you.
Why not?
I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They let 3 other receivers off the board and they need receivers. Yeah. It's like, what do you do? Yeah, so I'm with you. I think the worst one, to be honest with you, is gotta be. Unfortunately, I'm gonna go back to the Falcons picking Penix, dude. I just don't understand why you're doing it. Again, this has nothing to do with Michael Penix. It has zero to do with him. It's about, in the NFL draft, it's about where and what you need.
Yeah,
that's not anywhere near a need, and they wasted the 8th best player available on it. Again, not that he's not worthy.
Correct.
It's that they need it.
Well, especially,
I mean, that's like the freaking Chiefs. Again, it's not the same because it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
but that's like the Chiefs drafting a quarterback right now. Like, what the fuck for? No, they got a receiver to help their freaking quarterback.
Makes no sense. And again, if you look at it, like, they could have traded back if they really didn't think there was anybody worthy of taking at 8. You didn't have to take Penix. You could have traded back and still got him. Nobody else within the next probably 5 or 6 picks behind them was going to take him.
No, I'm pretty sure, like, to your point about the Broncos, them being afraid of the Broncos pick, I'm pretty sure that he was honed in on Bo Nix the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you weren't even afraid of that. Other than that, I mean, maybe I'm trying to think of who. Maybe the Saints run with it because they might.
I don't know. I just feel like there was nobody really there. I mean, you look at
the
Saints and then the Colts and the Seahawks, and they're not going to probably take him, even though that would be in Washington. And
that would be a good.
Vikings already took one, and then the Bengals already have Burrow, and then the Rams had it's just there's so many things you could have done.
Yeah, Steelers quarterback room, they just traded for everybody. The Dolphins have Tua, the Eagles have Jalen, the Jags have. I mean, everybody's got somebody.
Yeah, you could have sold back and gotten more capital to get other pieces later, but I don't know. Maybe they couldn't trade back and nobody wanted it, and that was part of the problem too. I have no idea. I'm with you. It's a very weird decision considering the mode or spot they're in right now moving forward.
Yeah. Other than that, dude, I really think it was a good draft. I think everybody did good. I think everybody has a nice fit where they're at. They filled a big need. The Colts get the pass rusher. So the Seahawks unfortunately get one. The Vikings replace Danielle Hunter.
Yep.
Bengals get somebody to protect Burrow. Rams try to attempt to replace Aaron Donald. I mean, yada yada.
Yeah.
Chop Robinson try to replace Christian Wilkins, who went to the freaking Raiders. Like they've right on. Terry and Arnold, like I mentioned, there's really, really. I think it was a great draft, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so, like I said, the fact that we're talking about the Falcons and Penix the way we are tells you right now that everyone else did great because we're not really talking about anything crazy besides the Penix thing.
No, I don't think anything was like, wow. I am really happy, though, that the Cardinals decided to take Marvin Harrison. I didn't want them to trade back. Just get Kyler the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he comes from a breed of a Hall of Famer. So if he's not, I believe he probably should be. He was great.
Yeah,
so.
No, I'm pretty sure he wasn't. His dad's in the Hall of Fame. So
yeah. So cool. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. We just wanted to kind of quickly jump in here and talk about the first round. We won't be covering the rest of the draft. It's just not something we pay attention to that much. We might give like review
highlights next week,
report cards or something. Yeah, if we see or some highlights, seeing some other big names kind of go somewhere. But other than that, this is kind of pretty much it for the draft. So anything else you want to say before we wrap up, man?
No, I think like you said, we'll probably look back at the rest of the draft over the weekend, and maybe next week we'll do a grade thing for each team, which will probably be mostly based on other people's grades trades because again, we don't know all the players,
Yeah.
especially once you get past the the 5th round, 6th round. I don't know who the hell these.
I've never heard of these.
Maybe we'll talk about Mr. Irrelevant just in case it's a funny story of who it is, because now we know that can be a possibility of being something real. But yeah, other than that, I think, like you said, basketball season is over as far as we're concerned. Now the Lakers are 3-0, and we're moving on to post-draft here and baseball. So let's
awesome. And hopefully we're covering some Celtics and Clippers losses.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Well, anyways, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Seeing things as always from RV from the bench. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
This was a Sycamore 4th Studios production.